Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Trevor Woodward and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the CompTIA Trifecta, which are 3 of the 5 certs that I earned from going to WGU and graduating with them. I said in my previous video that I would go over these certs and how basically I passed them, which was the hardest one, the easiest one, and all that good stuff. So that's what we're talking about here today. Stay tuned and we're going to have a good time. So come along, come along. Everything will be time stepped down below, so you don't have to worry about me yapping the whole time, but we're going to have a good time. So like I said, watch this good stuff. It's going to be good, but if you don't want to, if you want to skip ahead to one of these, you can. I have it all set up, and if YouTube did what it's supposed to do, this video should be sectioned off. If not, it's in the description, so you're good to go. But we're going to go over the summary of each of the Trifecta certs, so A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. Going to just talk about it some, give you a rundown, and my scores. Also, I'm going to give you my scores. The best beginner cert, the hardest cert, the best study resources that I use to help me get through, how I studied for them. I did a 2 weeks time frame for each of them, which I'm going to explain later, and the most important tip of this video. So stay tuned for that. All right, first up, we have the A+. The A+ is separated into 2 parts. You have Core 1 and Core 2. Core 1 is basically dealing with hardware. You got some slight networking going on, and you also, it's really for the PC builders. You're dealing with things like RAM, PCIe slots, GPU, CPU. You learn about all the different parts of a computer in general and how those things connect to each other on the motherboard. So that's really what Core 1 is about. Core 2, which I was more familiar with, which was software related. So you're dealing with operating systems, backups, storage drives, all those different things. With the software side was Core 2. So the passing score for Core 1 is a 675 out of 900, and Core 2, a passing is 700 out of 900. My scores are down below. I had got a 726 and for Core 1 and a 782. And I'm going to give my opinions on more of these later on, but I'm just giving you a quick rundown right now. So that's A+. Network Plus. Now this one, as you can see, as I haven't read, this is a beefy hamburger, bruh. Y'all have to really take your time with this cert, okay? This one has a lot of information and things you have to deal with. The passing score is a 720 out of 900, and you're really dealing with a lot of information like network services, DHCP, DNS, port numbers and protocols. That is a big thing. They're not going to spell it out for you. You have to know these individual things. Subnetting, I forget sometimes, and I have to relearn that because I don't do it every day. So subnetting is a big thing, and much more. You have to take your time with Network Plus. I do not advise you to jump into that thinking you're a beast. Unless you have experience, then go ahead. But Network Plus is a hefty cert. My score was 762 on that, so that's that. Now we're going on to Security Plus. All right, Security Plus. The passing score is a 750 out of 900. You're dealing with a lot of different things. This one was really, don't touch this, don't open that. For people, it really would say common sense, but a lot of people fall for these things, so I can't say that. So the types of attacks you got to remember, like phishing, DDoS, brute force, etc. Digital forensics, chain of custody, legal holds, etc. Vulnerabilities, you got to learn about those things. So there's a lot of different things that you're going through on Security Plus, but it's nowhere near like Network Plus, and in my opinion, it's easier, but we'll talk about that later. And my score was a 776, so there's that. All right, so for the best beginner cert, A+, of course, that makes the most sense, but I'm gonna give you my rundown of why. It's a good overview. If you've never done tech before, if you don't know what you're doing, and you never even set foot in a tech area, the A+ is a good generalization of everything, but it's not in depth of anything, so that's the caveat. But the only gripe I have with it is out of the Trifecta, this is the only cert that is sprung up into 2 parts. And that can feel deflating because you're paying for both parts. You have to pay for both parts if you don't have a voucher, or like through WGU, I was able to do it for free. But if you're paying out of pocket and you don't get it the first time, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So you could be working so hard for a beginner cert that's 2 parts. So you get the first half, you're like, yay, finally. You got to celebrate that. Don't forget to celebrate. But then you have another half you have to do before you get the full cert. So that's the only gripe I have with A+. But aside from that, it really is a good thing for beginners to start out with. And it's very friendly to newcomers, like I've been saying. All right, next up. The hardest cert, as I was talking about earlier, Network Plus was the hardest cert. But it was also my favorite because it did introduce me to networking more in a deeper aspect of, you know, how networking works. I didn't really know much about it before going into it. So it is a great cert, but it is a lot of information you have to digest, man. You're doing a lot of stuff. You really are. Subnetting was a big thing. Once you get it, you get it. But if you, it's like math. If you fall off with it, you have to kind of retrain your brain real quick. And since my job currently isn't dealing with networking constantly, I'm not subnetting often. You know what I mean? At this point in time. So it's a great cert. I really do like it. I like how in-depth it was. I like how it was teaching you many different things. And, you know, a lot of memorization, a lot of port numbers, a lot of stuff. So in my opinion, the girth of it is why it is the hardest cert. But once you got it, you got it. And it is a really good piece of knowledge to have. So. And the last one, easiest one, Security Plus. Security Plus was really good because it was really, I say common sense, but a lot of people can fall, your grandma can fall for it. I can fall for it. Sometimes I'm just in a rush, or it's just like I'm not paying attention. I click a link, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So I want to say common sense, but it's to the point. It's not, it's less concept heavy. And what I mean by that, like A Plus and Network Plus, you're learning different things. You're learning about hardware, you're learning about software, you're learning about networking. Security Plus, you're learning about like, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't open that. And you also learn about different types of attacks and like the legal aspects of things of security. It's not really as like, here, you got to know this out the gate. You better know this. It's really like, okay, once you get the premise of this, you can kind of get the common sense of the rest of it, you know? So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so study resources. These three right here are your anime trifecta. Okay, these are your Naruto, your Ichigo, and your Luffy, bro. I'm telling you. Professor Messer, Andrew Ramdale, and Jason Dion were my go-tos. They're the main reasons I passed all these certs on the first try, okay? So I didn't fail any of them by God's grace. I didn't fail, but I'm going to tell you what I did to study and how I went about it, all right? All right, so the study resources, basically for Professor Messer, I did all certs with him. I used his videos, and that was really for more learning, for the exposure. I'm going to get to that. Practice test, I used Jason Dion for all my certs that I did, and that was on Udemy, and I'm going to get to that. And then for Network Plus only, I had used Jason Ramdale because he had a great online practice test that I used when I was practicing for that. So those are the ones I used, but I'm going to go deeper into how I went about it. All right, so since WGU paid for all my certs and everything, I had a voucher they made it work. I gave myself 2 weeks for each cert because I was not trying to deal with any of that for a whole month. I like getting the ball going, and if I can retain it, I'm good to go. So 2 weeks was basically, the first week was exposure. I'm exposing myself to all the information. This is not a learning phase. This is an exposing phase. You want to just be like, oh, I heard that before. You're not trying to remember anything. You're trying to be just you want it to be brought to your attention. So what I did was, the first week of exposure, Professor Messer playlist. I would do all that in a week. So 5 to 7 days, I'm getting them done. So if he had a 20 video playlist, and I want to get it done in 5 days, then that will be 4 videos a day. And that's basically what I did. He does not have a 20 video playlist. They are bigger than that, okay? But that's the line of what I did. And I watch my videos in higher speed. So 1.5 to 1.75 is what I watch them, because I'm not trying to retain it. I'm just trying to be exposed to it. So I pay attention, but I'm not like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see it. Oh, I'm not doing all that. This is just exposure. And I'm not gonna lie, some days I was watching like 13 to 15 videos a day, because I didn't want to go into the next week with it. Do I advise you to do that? No, do not do that if that's not how you're wired. But I wanted to get it done. I just wanted to see what was out there, how to go about it. And that's what I did for the first week. Now, the second week, this is the very important part. This is where we're learning it. I used Jason Dion practice test on Udemy, and with WGU, it was provided to me for free. So that was a perfect thing. But the thing I want to emphasize is that you're not taking these practice tests like real tests. You're using these as a study avenue. What I mean by that is, each practice test I took, it took about 2 hours to do. Why? Because I'm going through each individual answer choice. And Udemy has a great option called the practice test menu, like beta or something like that. And basically, when you answer a question right, whether right or wrong, you can scroll down and it explains all the other answer choices for you. So sometimes if you don't have that, you just have to look them up individually on Google, which is fine. So if I have an answer choice that says, what color animal is pink? And you have pig, horse, cow, or dog, and I pick pig, I said, okay, cool. They answer it. They say you got it right. You can scroll down, and it tells you what a dog is, tells you what a horse is, tells you what a cow is. It tells you individual things so you can remember for the next question. So you're gonna rinse and repeat that for each of the questions throughout that whole practice test, and they lasted about maybe 60 to 90 questions each. You know what I mean? Jason Dion has a practice test. He also has a main course. I just did the practice test. I didn't do his main course for the cert because I got my exposure from Professor Messer. The gist of what I'm trying to say is that if you do 2 questions that have 4 answer choices, you should learn 8 things, and keep doing that for each answer choice. That's how you retain the information and keep learning about it, because it will come up later on in the quiz. You know what I'm saying? Take your time, do your thing, and look up each individual answer. After that, you want to take the real practice test the day before or a week before, or whatever. What I normally did was, if I knew I was about to take the test the next week, I would take a real practice test like 2 days before, then take a day off the day before, and then take the actual test. So I did like 4 maybe practice tests all together, because they all took like 2 hours each. And then Wednesday, that 5th practice test, I take the real exam to see what I get. If I get a good score, that's great. And then the next day, that Thursday, take the day off. That Friday, we're taking a test and we're passing in the name of Jesus. Okay? Now, I do want to say for Jason Dion, his tests are a little bit more harder, but that's a good thing. So if you're scoring like 70s to and above, you're doing good. You're going to be all right. You know what I mean? If you're scoring like mid 70s, 75 and above consistently, you're good to go. You know, as long as you're doing that method, because since his are harder, it is harder to pass, but I was just making like 75, 77 when I got, down the line, and I was good. So that's good. Now, for Network Plus, since I said that is a beefy cert, I pre-studied. So when I was accepted into WGU, I knew I was going to have to deal with this cert. I had looked up these, and I was like, which is the hardest one? They said Network Plus. I was going to go ahead and do it. So technically, this one took me a month and 2 weeks, because the month before I started WGU, I looked at Andrew Ramdale's online practice test, and I did those. But it wasn't like full wholeheartedly. It was kind of like, okay, just doing it on my own, going through it. And I did watch some of Professor Messer's Network Plus videos, but it wasn't boom, 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 boom like I did when it did come around for real, and I gave myself that 2 week period. So that's the only reason that Network Plus took me 2 weeks, quote unquote, because I pre-studied for a whole month before. And yeah, so I guess that's clickbait. I'm sorry. You got me. But that's really how that goes. Support these people. These people are working hard. Yes, they have free resources, but they also have paid ones. If you have the money, if you can do it, help them, because they're helping people like us. And they inspire me to do videos like this to help you out. All right, let's keep it moving. And I have an important tip. This isn't the biggest one I want to talk about, but this is an important tip I want to tell you all. Find your study method. This is the biggest thing you have to understand. Yes, what I told you, 2 weeks for a cert that I've never done before and all that. Wow. Okay, that's good, but a lot of people don't do how I do it. I'm Trevor. I'm not you. You know what I mean? If it takes you 2 backflips and a bowl of ice cream to remember the OSI layer model, then do those backflips and eat those ice cream. It don't matter who laugh at you, because that's how you retain information. We all learn differently. I'm a visual learner. I like audio. I like visual. I like all those great things. I do not like reading a lot of text. You can't catch me reading a whole bunch of text. I'll be dagged. You know what I'm saying? But you might be a reader. You might enjoy reading pamphlets and manuals and books. Do your thing. You know what I mean? I'm telling you these things because this is what I did and this is what helped me. But if it's not your way of doing it, find a way to be exposed by these things. If you have to do 2 cartwheels and tell your mom to get you a new backpack, I don't know, whatever it takes, man, to get you to exposed to these material. And then the second week or however long, go your own pace. If you want to go a month, a year, or whatever, find how you retain information and go down that line of how you're going to retain it. That's all I'm saying. All right. Cool. Now here is the most important tip. All right. You gotta look me dead in my eyes. All right. You with me? You with me? All right. Important tip, man. Bow. Jesus told me we are trying to pass, not be perfect. You might be watching all these videos and all these like, okay, Network Plus, all I'm gonna do. Oh, okay. That's gonna stress you out. You're just trying to pass. You're not trying to be perfect. If A plus is 700 to pass and you get 701, thank God. We gonna celebrate. We gonna hug our family. We gonna be happy about that, and we're gonna move on. Don't beat yourself up if you didn't get the score you didn't want to get. You're not trying to get the 900 or the 800 or the perfect score. You're trying to just pass the class or pass the cert and move on with your life. All right. If you want to study more, do it after you got the cert. Don't worry about that extra stuff. All right. We're trying to pass. We're not trying to be perfect. And that's all that matters with this. And I believe in you. God got you, all right? And also, one more thing. Don't listen to these videos because you're going to be trying to find all these videos about CompTIA and all these things. And you're going to see these thumbnails like, the CompTIA certs are done. Don't worry about it. You suck. Like, it's going to be those thumbnails that pop up like, dude, because they're trying to bait you into with those negative emotions. Ignore that stuff. Study. Do your thing. If you have any questions, comment down below. I really would appreciate it. I hope this helped you all. I really did. Shout out to Professor Messer. I was out of everybody, Professor Messer. I know that man voice by heart at this point because I was watching him 24/7 for so long, going through all these certs and listening to these things. So shout out to him. Shout out to Andrew Randale and shout out to Jason Dion for those practice tests. And there's going to be other things. This is just a baseline, but there's going to be other things out there for you all. Comment down below what helps you. Use Reddit, use Facebook, use all these different resources. You got it. I love y'all. This is Trevor Wood out. Peace.